Always is great. So, guys, if you're just not jumping in, if you're just like the early bird, you're just jumping in right now, we're glad to have you. We're going to talk about how you can reach your audience, okay?
Your audience.
With video, exactly. So, guys, let us know where you're coming in from. What city? What state? What country? You know the drill. Put it in the comments. I'm curious as far as where are you in the stream of making videos? Are you currently making videos now? Is it something you're thinking about? Are you wanting to do it, but you haven't gotten started? I mean, we want you to let's get those juices flowing. We're gonna have some creative stuff going here because I've got a great guest to talk about it. I have a LinkedIn creator. He's a LinkedIn creator with over 160,000 followers. None other than Mr. Jonathan Palmar. Welcome to the show.
It is always a pleasure to be on Rollis's show. It is by far at this point my favorite. It's the only one that I really make an exception for to appear on no matter what. So as always, Rollis, it's always an honor to be here with you.
So you're always filling you're filling my heart with joy already. I appreciate it. I feel good. In fact, let me give you this little message here. This is how I feel right now. I appreciate that.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Rollis. Thank you for being a great friend and a great person of high character.
Appreciate that.
You elevate this platform just by being on.
Thank you. You're pretty amazing yourself, sir. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into this. The first thing I want to ask you, by the way, I'm going to have some fun questions today, just like I always do. But the first question I want to ask you is, what has changed in video in 2021? Have you seen like people's appetite kind of go down? Has it gone up? Is it about the same? Like, where is video right now in the streaming? Because we talked a lot last year, some this year, but I want to know you got your finger on the pulse. What's going on right now?
Yeah, I think all of us can kind of agree, if we're being real with one another, that video content is way down. And it's not a matter of, just to be completely honest with you, it's not the easiest way of creating content. It's actually quite challenging. There's quite a process to it, right? There's a lot of post-production. I mean, think about it. If you're going to create a post for LinkedIn right now, you write out some text, like maybe it's like a tweet. Maybe you want to go a little bit, heavier, a little bit more extensive with your content, what have you. But, at the end of the day, whether it's a text post, picture post, polls we see perform incredibly well, or, even if you go a little bit more, in depth, like with a slide or, the carousel content, all of those things do not take as long as a piece of video content that's scripted out, right? If you have a scripted out piece of content, you have to write it out, you have to record it, you have to send it to editing. It's quite the process, right? So I can see why video content is not the most appealing at the moment, and the algorithm also does not seem to be favoring it. But I also want to wake people up to this idea that, Instagram just announced that they are no longer a picture platform. They have announced themselves as a video platform. So I'm always looking to the future, right? If this is the way that younger people are communicating, we need to stay above the curve. So despite the fact that LinkedIn is still saying, hey, we're not going to embrace video completely, I'm looking ahead and I'm recognizing in the future it will be a thing. So you still want to be doing it. You still want it in your mix.
That makes sense. And one of the things that you've shared with me too in the past is that although they may not be getting as many views, how is that affecting the leads that are coming in?
It is night and day different. The reason why is because, especially like I always go towards the people that are the most successful in their space and what they're doing. And I always consider that, right? When I look at a Jeff Bezos, when I look at an Elon Musk or a Mark Zuckerberg, these are not the most charismatic, outgoing individuals, yet they are still creating video content, whether they're interviewing or they're doing a keynote speech or they're on a news channel, whatever. They're speaking, and these are introverted people where it's not their natural, tendency to be on a stage speaking. Why do they do it? Think about, a time that you've heard something about Jeff Bezos or some of these individuals. Typically it's, you'll remember something they said listening to a speech, not really something that they wrote, an article that was written. It was something that they did on camera that resonates with you. That's why I feel like it's still so important, because those are the memories that we keep. Those are the things that we actually recall and remember. So, when a brand or an individual or a company is trying to establish a relationship with an individual, think about the people that you follow the most. Do you recall them for an article they wrote, or for an interview they did, or for something that they said that you saw on camera? And I feel like there is a correlation there that is super important that sometimes gets forgotten.
That's a great point. And, I just noticed something that I actually had the wrong chat thing on. So, Joanne, let me know if someone has already put some chats, some comments in there to make sure I don't miss anybody, because we love
comments, guys.
We're gonna be paying attention to your comments today. We want to any kind of feedback that you have, any questions you have, we definitely want to have that. And I 100% agree with what you're saying there, and it makes a lot of sense. As we look, what's that?
The music is a little loud.
Okay.
I don't hear it here, but on live it's really loud.
Give me a quick second, guys. I'm gonna jump. I'm just gonna grab some really quick. Thank you.
Sure. Let me know if it's fixed. Let me know if it's fixed.
Yeah, I'm checking.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, so what we were just talking about is the fact that the views on LinkedIn in terms of the videos have gone down.
Right. Yes.
But when it comes to things like lead generation and really kind of selling, that's that part of it. You were also making a point on that. Let's just kind of recap that part.
Still a little loud. Sorry.
Okay.
Still a little loud. What kind of music are we playing, by the way? I'm not hearing any, so I'm a little bit jealous of the audience right now. What are they bumping to?
Yeah, I'm not 100%. Let me try this one other thing. Let me try this one other thing here.
Audience, I envy you right now.
There we go. Okay,
that music going on.
That should have it fixed right there. You can let me know, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, so keep going, Jonathan. You were hitting a really great point.
Yes. Yeah. So I think from like a lead generation perspective, there is nothing like video content, because for a fact, like if somebody is delivering a message on camera, 9 times out of 10, like you can't fake that, right? You can't have somebody posting a text post. You can have somebody post a text post or a slider or what have you on your behalf. If you guys think that Bill Gates is managing his LinkedIn profile and answering his messages, I'm fairly certain that he's not, right? So I can't say for sure, but I'd imagine.
Right.
But if you see Bill Gates delivering a message himself, he had to be present with it. He had to be present with what he was delivering, right? There is a difference in the trust building process, because we know this person is actually living this, they're actually speaking this. So when it comes to making a purchasing decision, I do feel like it really does help build that trust a little bit deeper than just some text post, right? I just don't, a profile photo is not enough. And let me speak to that really quickly, because we had a live event last week. Shay and I and the team, we did it in Milwaukee. And when you meet these people, and this was, the first time that I ever had that opportunity, when you meet these people in person, they feel like they know you. They get right into it. And it's insane how I didn't always recognize them, because I was basing everything off of a profile photo. But as soon as they showed me their profile photo, I was like, oh, okay, I know who it is. But if they were developing video content, I would have immediately said, I know exactly who this is.
Yeah.
So even from a networking perspective, as all of us start going to more events, the fact that you create video content, people will immediately say, I know exactly who you are, what you're about, because a profile photo is just not enough.
Yeah. You're so right on that with that, because I've had that situation where they've seen my videos and they do feel like they know me before they've even met me. And that's where you want to get to with marketing. I mean, you're the marketing guru. Now, before we move on, there's a question here. Robert Berry, he says, JP has quality posts, but he doesn't post that often. Will people forget you if they don't see you that often? That's his question.
Really interesting question. Rollis, what's your favorite restaurant? Absolute favorite.
Absolute favorite. Ooh, that's a tough one, man. It depends on what I'm in the mood for. Let's go. It's a Jamaican restaurant called Cool Runnings. We'll go with that right now.
Cool Runnings, not based on the movie at all.
Well, the name is, but yeah. but the movie was based off of a set of guys, the actual real events.
Right.
Yeah,
I just remember the movie, but but great example, right? When was the last time you went there?
Before COVID happened. been a
before
while.
COVID, right? Like, how many McDonald's do you see when you're driving down to your house? Probably a few.
Yeah, several.
I'd imagine, right?
Yeah.
Cool Runnings is what stays with you, though, right? It's your favorite restaurant. So how does it relate to this question? I don't worry about people forgetting about me, especially if for those that aren't aware, I only post once a week, right? I don't worry about people forgetting my content because I ensure that it's special. I make my content almost like an event. I make it so that it's so jam-packed with value or entertainment or what have you that, you kind of become like a favorite because of how much passion you put into your work and how intentional it is, right? So kind of like, Cool Runnings, there isn't a concern because it's not a place you go to every day. It's something that you really do enjoy. It's something special. So, despite the fact that it's not in your everyday life, you don't forget about it, right? Because it's something special. And I always viewed my content like that. It's like very intentional. I put a ton of work into it. And when that day rolls around that I do post it, people are there for it. So like in terms of like not being forgotten, not posting as often, another thing to consider is be active with your community. It's not something I do as much now, but it was something that I did a lot of early on, is being very active in the comment section, being there for your followers, because the reality is if you want more engagement, you have to be engaging and you have to engage. Yeah. So you have to also give in order to receive that. And I feel like if you combine all those things together, it really does help.
Wow. You know what? The audience, they seem to be into this, what you just said. So
there we go.
Excellent. Okay. That's a great point. I think you summed it up well. I mean, to me, if you're only going to do it once a week, it's got to be quality, and your quality is high. So that's really cool. Now, I'm ready for are you ready for a fun question?
I'm ready for a fun question. Hit me with one.
So you have a choice here. Either never have I ever, an open-ended kind of a favorite question, or a would you rather?
Never have I ever, since we haven't done one of those previously.
Okay. So, and I don't want you to answer right away. I want you to give us an opportunity to guess. Okay.
Right.
So
sure.
I want you to tell me, never have I ever creeped myself out with a face swap. Okay. Now, don't answer yet. So guys in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you think that Jonathan has or has never creeped himself out with a face swap? I'm curious about this one. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with yes. I'm gonna go with yes, because I think you have tried it. I'm not sure if you creeped yourself out with it, but I think you've tried it. You're kind of a tech guy. I think you probably tried it.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're not gonna give it away. So guys in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you think that he has or he's never creeped himself out by doing a face swap?
I'm a tech guy. Guys.
So
we're gonna play with the.
We're gonna give them a moment.
Technology.
Yeah, we're gonna give them a moment before we answer. Okay, so we're gonna come back to that in just a second. So I'll make sure I don't forget to ask you that.
Right.
So let me ask you this: in terms of whenever you went to the in-person events, because that's a big switch, right? To go from fully virtual to going to the in-person event. Can you think of anything else that video did for you or for whoever you were with before you met the person? What other things that you've observed?
Oh man, one thing it didn't prepare me for was actually going on stage and speaking in front of people. That's there's and I'm speaking to my introvert friends in the room right now. There's something very special about being in your room, recording a video, and being able to play with it and post it, and not having the pressure of a live audience in front of you, right? So for a lot of you that are a little bit more shy, that's another reason why video content is so great, because I was not prepared to get on stage with people that already know who I am, and they're anticipating this curated, production, when the reality is like, it's just like this interview that I'm having with you right now. It's live. There's stutters, there's there's ums, there's breaks, there's pauses. I was not anticipating, wait a second, now I can't hide behind all these things. But the takeaway from that is, if you're not comfortable public speaking, creating a video for social media is so much easier than that.
Yeah.
It is so much easier because you have the ability to do second, third, fourth takes if you're not happy with it. You have the ability to go back and review it and feel, could I have said this a little bit more concise? Could I cut down on some of the words? Can I remove a little bit of some of this, that, it's a lot of great practice for, hopefully one day doing it in person. So I feel like if anything, for the shy folks in the room, video content is so much easier than speaking in front of a crowd. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've already got a couple people who've chimed in. Let's see here. I see there's a Kimberly Chernoff. She thinks you have.
She thinks I have.
Okay, let me just do a refresh, see if I missed any others. Let's see. Kimberly, she sees you have. Do we have any others?
Who
okay.
else?
So we're in suspense. Let us know.
In suspense.
Jonathan, have you or have you not ever creeped yourself out by doing a face swap?
What is super interesting is as you build an audience, people start doing the face swaps for you. So reality is I have never done a face swap of myself on purpose, but I've had plenty sent to me. And it's funny how I'll fall into certain categories. It's like Fabio, Thor, Jason Momoa, the guy that plays Aquaman, and Winnie the Pooh. I don't know what that one was about, but I'll get some obscure ones. There's some weird people on the internet. So yes, there have been quite a few that I've received, enough to convince me not to do it myself. So yeah, I feel like I got that all out of my system. The interesting ones are the ones where it's I couldn't even really tell that they did a face swap until I really zoom in and I'm like, oh, wait a second, that's not my face. Okay, well, it's kind of cool. So yes, I've received a few of those. They're all creepy, but thanks, guys.
Yeah. Joanne says, by the way, in response to one of the comments you made, he says, very true. I'm there for your stuff. I was more so referring to me. Laugh out loud. So he was laughing.
Oh, okay. Well, let's make it for him. So I still believe that a little bit of exclusivity, not over, because I think Gary Vaynerchuk's going through this right now. If you look at his analytics, you look at his YouTube, Instagram, what have you, people are burnt out. I'm not trying to throw the guy under the bus. He's very talented, and a lot of us started because of him, but people are burnt out on his content because there's just so much of it, right? If you look at people that are doing incredibly well on YouTube, Mr. Beast, there's quite a few others. They're very intentional. That's where I got it from. They post once a week, once every 2 weeks, but they make it really good. If you think about your favorite TV shows, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, what have you, these are not TV shows that are on, 7 days a week. They were on once a week, and you had to look forward to it, and you couldn't stream the whole season in the beginning, I suppose. It was an event. So I think that, a portion of that is what I would consider to be the future, at least the next few years of social media, is people actually taking that step back and asking, is this what my audience actually needs right now? Or am I just posting for the sake of doing it? Because that's how you become oversaturated and it's just, it's just not as special, I suppose. I'd slow down a little bit.
So he also said he also liked the point you made about Bill Gates is not answering me personally.
Right. No, we don't know for sure. Maybe he
maybe
does.
he is.
Maybe he does.
Joanne
he owns the whole platform.
Yeah.
Why not?
Joanne says she says she won't easily forget you because you've already established a name. So that's a good point.
But I want the audience to remember, I started with 2 posts a week. I've never done more than that. So even from the very beginning, I put my feet in the ground and I said, this is the number I can commit to long term. I didn't want to burn out, still burnt out anyways, but that's what I committed to in the beginning. And I've never changed that. So yeah, don't allow that to discourage you. You just got to believe in the process and it'll work out.
But some of the backstory on that, because I know this about you personally, is that unlike a lot of other creators out there, you edit your own stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, and if anybody ever watches your videos, the level of detail that you put into that shows you put a lot of time into it. So I can understand how it could definitely build up very quickly and perhaps burn you out.
Yes.
So Jonathan, I wanted to ask you this. Let's get into kind of targeting our audience, right? Because a lot of folks are kind of not sure, and I want this to be a live case study. Those who are watching. If you want to get some direction while we're here, feel free and pop it in the chat for us, and we'll take a look at it and see if we can give you some ideas. In fact, Robert, he says he edits his own stuff also. So,
congrats, Robert.
What's one of the first things you should think about? When I say you, I mean the folks in our audience. What should they think about in terms of if they're trying to target or focus on a certain type of individual or industry or business sector, whatever the case is? What's one of the first things they should think about before creating their content?
I think it's super. Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think the first thing is you need to create kind of like an avatar. You need to create like kind of like this model of who is the individual that I'm really trying to reach, right? What's their demographic? What's their age? Do they have a specific nationality that, they identify with? Is it a, specific sex? Like if you're selling, a specific kind of clothes, like that's something you need to identify. You need to identify, what, like, are these CEOs? Are they C-suite executives? Are they, like, what's their budget? All of these questions are the first step that you have to take. It's not like the super fun stuff, but it's the most important stuff, right? One of the benefits that we have with LinkedIn is, anybody that uses LinkedIn is a potential client of ours. So that's why when you see our follower counts and when you see the amount of engagement, don't get discouraged by that. It's very intentional. There's a reason why it's so much higher. It's because we're basically targeting any user that uses the platform. It's completely different. But let's say that you're an accountant and you live in Texas, in Austin, Texas, and you're trying to reach a very specific person. The first thing that I would encourage you to do is get this idea out of your head that you have to be a social media influencer and you need to get all these hundreds of thousands of likes or comments in order to be successful. I'd actually encourage that person to have a very tight knit, and we're talking about like 30, 40 people that you're nurturing relationships with. Because when you scale, here's the reality, guys, you don't have the ability to connect with people one-on-one anymore, right? So it no longer works to your benefit. But if you're just trying to build a client base, 20 to 30 people that you have great relationships with is so much more beneficial to your business than trying to build relationships with thousands of people and you're just spread too thin. So I think, the first thing that I would tell people to do is really focus in on what does this person look like, sound like, smell like? And then the second step is, don't go crazy about the analytics or the metrics.
Yeah.
Ensure that you're treating a very small but tight group of people very well, and they will tell their friends about you. And that's how you'll kind of build yourself up.
Yeah, I that's actually resonating with a lot of folks. I'm already seeing it right now.
There you go.
I got quite a few other comments I missed along the way here. And glad to have you, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us. Also, Sadia, she says, nice to see you, Jonathan. Sadia Parveen. And also, Dr. Julie Olson, she says, love that you don't have to post so often. I totally agree. When I start seeing people who post just to be seen but not add value, it doesn't work for me.
Just to be seen but not add value. I love the way you put that. Yes.
That was powerful.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay, what's the next step? So let's say I'm already thinking about my audience. I'm thinking about, who it is that's going to be watching it. What's my next step in terms of the type of video? Should I go into live? Should I do recorded? If I'm going to do recorded, should I script everything out? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that you have to find what naturally works best with you. I think a lot of people force themselves to do something that they're not completely comfortable with. And then they wonder why they can't commit to it long term, right? Like all of these things are like what I would consider extracurriculars. These are things that are outside of the scope of the work that you do, unless you're a marketing agency. But I'm thinking about the entrepreneur. I'm thinking about the business owner that understands they have to be on LinkedIn, but it's they have other responsibilities in addition to this. So I would encourage that person really look at yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I could naturally do and I'm comfortable doing long term, right? For me, video content was incredibly appealing because like I had an acting background, I had a performance background, and it seemed like, for my audience and for myself, it was going to be the most enjoyable. For somebody else, they may find that writing is very therapeutic. Okay, well then you write content, if that's how you communicate. People that text a lot, if you're like a text messaging guru, you're just great with a keyboard, I would encourage you to just do text posts. Find the thing that you're going to do well, that is not going to overly stress you out, that isn't going to add an extra burden to you. But again, in the back of my mind, I do have to kind of like, be realistic with it. Video content is great for closing deals. So maybe have a little bit of the video content, whether it's, LinkedIn Live or a couple of recorded videos that you could keep on your profile, but really find that thing that you do best and then really triple down on that, get really good at that. And your audience will also notice it, because like how many times have we seen somebody try to force something and they know it doesn't come to them naturally. Like as a kid, I loved basketball. I grew up with Michael Jordan. I don't know how you feel about Michael Jordan, Rallis, but
he's great. Yeah.
I was a Jordan guy. Now, like with Space Jam coming out and everything, it's like it brings it back. But I was a Jordan guy, and but I just couldn't play basketball, man. I like as much as I tried, I was like afraid of the ball. I would miss every shot. It wasn't made for me. I had to find something else to do.
Right.
You know. So in the same way, we have to find what works best for us and embrace that.
So what if I'm just great at texting and I do these text posts, and they're working for me? Do I still need to do some video, or do you feel like I just don't need to do any video? What are your thoughts?
I would still do some, but I think it'll happen organically as you continue to do the text posts. You get comfortable with having a little bit of an audience. They're going to want to know a little bit more about you. Once you really start embracing the platforms, I think those types of things start organically coming in your direction. Let's say that you're really good at text posts. You might get invited to Rallis's LinkedIn Live, and then all of a sudden now you find yourself in a situation where you have an opportunity to speak in front of an audience, right? So yeah. I think, yes, you need video content. You certainly do. It helps a lot, but focus is do what you really do best.
Makes sense. Yeah. And hi, Melissa. Melissa says hello as well. In terms of let's try this. I want to try. I see some people in the audience that I know what they do. So let's just kind of take that as an example. Let's say I just wrote a book. One of the folks, actually two of the people who I see have commented they've wrote books. So let's say I just wrote a book, and it's about my profession. One of them is they're in healthcare, but they're giving advice on what to do to kind of change careers and make a shift. Sure. I know that's Dr. Olson. She has a book like that. And then Rob, he has a book about asking better questions. So if you want to take either one of those, like what are some things that you would give them ideas to do to post on their profile that would be good video content that their audience might enjoy to help reach their audience?
Yeah. Okay. So take me a little bit deeper with the example, like asking better questions, the book. Take me a little bit deeper with that. Do we have a little bit more context?
Yeah, so Rob
really help it.
Yeah, so Rob, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Rob, he is a chief financial auditor. He does a lot of boot camps and training on how to ask better questions from that perspective as an auditor. Right. Whenever you're going into these situations where it might be a little uncomfortable, right? Because you're trying to see if there's any funny business going on. In the accounting space. I know that was you're in forensic accounting, so you understand. So that's his main audience. But I'm sure the questions can help anybody in pretty much any industry. But that's his core audience right now.
Right. So one example that I would use, there's two angles to it that I would take advantage of. And this goes back to that first example we used about identifying who your target market is, right? So when I was in a very similar space, what I identified is that my target market was around 40, 50-year-old man, 40 to 60-year-old man, more or less, right? And, C-suite executive, what have you. But I focused on one factor, and that was the age thing, right? So I played into nostalgia, right? I recognized, okay, who were the people that this 40 to 60-year-old man grew up with that was influential, that if I could create video content around this thing, make it educational, but also make it a little bit nostalgic, kind of like we were talking about Jordan a moment ago, how can I make this connect with them in a way that it'll make the content memorable, it'll make me memorable, but also engage them, and they'll find it stimulating, where they'll stick around and actually watch what I'm doing. And what I put together was I worked in the fraud space. So I took Mr. Rogers, which is this figure in a lot of these people's lives they grew up with, and I created Mr. Frodgers, right? And basically what I did is I took the fraud investigative content, and I put it in the framework of a Mr. Rogers episode, right? So it was educational, but it was also a little bit whimsical, a little bit fun. And I just played with that idea. So it had the nostalgia, it had the entertainment, it had the value, and I just kind of wrapped it all together. So obviously, that was something that worked for me. In his case, I would just consider some of those same factors. How can you make it a little bit more fun? Because the challenge that all of us have on LinkedIn is people, control the scroll, right? They can continue to scroll. This is not a commercial that they have to stop on. No, they can move on at any time. If there is not something that gets them to stop the scroll and pay attention, you lose them. So I feel like that entertainment value has to be there to some degree.
That makes a lot of sense. He says, teaching auditors how to use soft skills to ask better questions. So you just clarify what I was saying. And he says it can definitely apply to almost any industry. And as far as your response, he said, freaking awesome.
Good. Happy to hear that.
Kimberly says that's amazing. There you go. So there you go, Rob. Hopefully that helps. And if anyone else, if you have questions, if you tell us what industry you're in, we can work with you as well. So let's go back to the book thing with Dr. Olson. She is an accomplished person in healthcare. Her audience is going to be very, very affluent, high level leaders, on down to professionals who are perhaps looking to adjust or change their career. And she is the author of the book. So what ideas would you give her?
I would say that, whether these people are affluent, whether these people are C-suite executives, at the end of the day, they're still human, right? Like, we're still human. So, like, what are the things that we all deal with, no matter what social status we may have? A lot of us have kids, a lot of us have the same stresses every day. What I started to identify, especially as like the money started to come and like status and just being surrounded by more of these people through the work that we do. What I started to recognize is that like 97% of everybody's day is more or less the same, right? Like, we all wake up, we, take a shower, we drink a cup of coffee, we open the newspaper, we get ready for work. The offices that we drive to are very different, right? And the type of work we do are very different. But the reality is, like, 90-something% of our days look very similar, There's times where some people might be on a stage or performing or doing what we're doing right now. But the reality is there are so many relatable things that we all go through, relationship wise, or, again, with the kids or whatever it may be. And those are the topics that I would stick with, because when people go on LinkedIn, no matter what they tell you, they're looking for passive entertainment. They're looking for something to stimulate them. But now here's the thing, more often than not, people are looking for something valuable. They're looking for something to stimulate them in a positive way. They're on LinkedIn after all, but you can play a lot with that. So my focus, if I were her, is don't think so much about affluence. Don't think so much about status. Think more about what are the things that these people are going through every day that you can relate with, they can relate with, they understand. And like I said, 90% of our days are all the same. So it's not going to be hard to pick one of those things. I remember getting into a heated conversation with somebody about whether coffee smells better than it tastes. Where are you at with that, Rawless? I feel like coffee smells better than it tastes.
I do
feel
too.
like coffee doesn't really taste all that great. I've tried Colombian, Argentinian, from the Himalayas. I've tried every type of coffee you can imagine. No matter where I go, the coffee always smells better than it tastes.
Yeah.
Have you found one that is different than that yet?
I don't drink coffee.
Oh, nice.
I will never probably ever really drink coffee, but I do like the way it smells. So I have to agree with you that from my perspective, it definitely
You're
smells.
not missing anything, Rawless. You're getting the good stuff. If you smell it, then you've hit peak coffee experience, in my opinion.
Now, my wife would beg to differ because she loves coffee. So
okay.
Yeah, she's in a different camp. She loves. In fact, we even have a running list that she has where it's like her top 20 list of places that have the best coffee in our area.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
So
I love that.
Yeah. And sometimes there's certain restaurants we won't go to if they don't have good coffee.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
well, I hope Cool Runnings made the list.
Interestingly enough,
coffee.
we go there when she's not necessarily looking to have coffee.
Okay. Fair enough.
And as you know, my wife's Jamaican, so it's a Jamaican restaurant, and so definitely that's a winner for her, for sure.
Maybe that's the thing. Rawless. I've never had Jamaican coffee. Maybe that will be the one that tastes better than it smells.
They do. Well, they do have good coffee. They have the Blue Mountain coffee.
They do.
That's pretty good.
That soil is rich. It's not polluted with Monsanto like the good old US of A. So maybe that's it.
Okay, so I feel like I need to ask you at least one would you rather question. And guys, in the comments, I want you to answer the would you rather question, but I also want you to put in the comments what industry you're in and what industry you would like to cater to so we can give you some ideas on video content on how to reach your audience, because that's why you guys are here. So that's
what I'm here for, guys.
Let's definitely talk about that. Okay, so let me ask you a would you rather question. Would you rather have your feet replaced by wheels without brakes or your hands replaced by hooks?
Wow. I need my hands raw. I can't do bicep curls with hooks. I mean, I guess I could.
That's true.
It'd be really hard to edit video with hooks.
That's
yeah,
true.
I'd say let's go with the wheels. I don't have brakes on them, which is going to make life a little bit more challenging. But I'll flatten the tires. I'll figure it out. There's got to be a way to make this work.
Yeah, and even
What would you go with?
I think I'm gonna go with that too. I think because I'm gonna go with the feet replaced by wheels because what I can do is I can turn sideways to kind of use it as a brake.
Yes.
Like I did with my.
I like where you're at with this. Yeah.
And I feel like I need my hands a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm gonna be able to get places
I had mean
fast.
friends growing up, so I just feel like they'd constantly be pushing me down a hill, or something like that. So yeah, if I could get through childhood, I think I'd be okay.
Okay, so by the way, we got some feedback from Dr. Olson. She says, "Great, thanks for the advice. Just drafted my next blog using the children's game Whack-a-Frog, and how trying to whack the frogs relates to new leaders trying to attack every challenge, and the challenges never stop."
Okay.
I like that. So that you think that could be a base for some videos?
Yes, without a doubt. I like it.
So what would you do to change that blog into a script for a video? What would you anything particular you want to take her through as a process?
That's interesting. Yeah, like I would want to hear like a little bit more about it. I think that it's an intriguing concept, but yeah, like if she could send me that, like let's work through it. I would totally love to do that.
And that's one thing, Jonathan, you're so good at that. I mean, guys, if you're watching, there would be times when I would just come up with a concept and he would walk me through that concept. And before we know it, we pretty much have the basis of what a script should look like. And he's so good at, if you send him a script, he can turn it into an even better one. So, and that's one thing I want to just talk about with your program. Just quickly, let's talk about that for a minute before we go back on our subject. How does that program work where you can help folks with the script and all that? It's a boot camp thing you guys have.
Yeah, like essentially what it is there's a lot of people think that it's like the text or the pretty captions, that's what gets people's attention, when really there is a psychology to capturing people's attention, holding their attention, getting them to continue to watch, doing it in such a way where they don't even realize they're consuming educational content. They don't realize they're being, I don't want to use the word manipulate, but they're being influenced towards a direction that can help them, whether it's with video or whatever topic that it's around. There's a psychology to every video that we create. And once people understand that psychology, social selling is far easier. Getting attention, once you learn how to get attention and get attention from people, here's the reality, guys. Like, you could run LinkedIn ads, right? You could pay $30 more or less for 1,000 views per video, or you could get an audience of 20 people to like your video and you're saving $30 a pop. So like I'd say that there's something very special to it. There's certainly a psychology to all of it. And you can save a lot of money doing it. So, and it's one of those skills that it's only going to be more in demand as time passes. I don't think, we're not going back to traditional media. Like, I think the days of the radio, television, billboards, they're going to be there, but people are checking their phones while they're driving by the billboard. They're checking their phones during commercials, right? So if that's the reality, you got to meet people where they are, and they're on their phone. So I think it's just, it's inevitable that we're all going to have to learn how to do this kind of stuff in the future.
One of the things that you taught me I thought was really good was, even using the Whack-a-Frog example or any example, whatever you have in life that you're going to use as content, you have to somehow relate it back to your audience and how it affects them. And there were certain times I would have a certain phrase or thing that was relatable to everyone. I'd have it towards the end. You would say, I want to take that and put it at the beginning. Tell us about that. Let's
unpack that a little bit. So Whack-a-Frog, walk me through this. She's saying Whack-a-Frog, right? And I'm imagining like whack-a-mole, Whack-a-Frog, but what do the frogs represent? So they could represent anything. Like, I'm thinking about what's like an example that people are very familiar with, because that's the thing. Like, they have to understand your jokes. especially when you're doing video content, if you're going to use a reference, it has to be something that most people understand, or else you're going to lose them, right? So, like the frog, the woman kissing the frog and it's a prince. Okay, well, there's an example that you could use. Like, okay, well, what's another way that we could talk? Like frogs, they're kind of like gross and you don't really want to touch them. So what do these frogs represent? And if you can identify what the frogs that represent, then whacking them could either be a good thing or a bad thing, whatever it may be. But that's an introduction. That's just like to kind of get your brain working on that. The frogs have to represent something. If you're whacking them, it has to represent something negative, right? So we can't just say whack a frog because it's not enough. People don't understand what that means. We have to explain to them why you need to whack the frog, what that frog represents. And then you start kind of unlocking, okay, now we have some area that we could play with. Now we can kind of get into it,
That makes sense. Yeah, she mentioned it, part of this in her comment. She says how trying to whack the frog relates to new leaders trying to attack every challenge, and the challenges never stop. Which I'm wondering if part of it is it's impossible to whack them all because you just don't try, or is she perhaps showing a better way to whack more of the frogs? I would like to know that. I think I would like to. What would you go on that?
Hopefully she chimes in before the end because I want to hear it and I want it.
Okay.
We're gonna finish this one.
Yeah. Come back to us, Dr. Olson. This is we're on to something here. We're working with you here. Something. I love it. Okay. So I have another open-ended question for you.
Yes.
If you had a couple more hours each day, what would you probably spend that time doing? And guys in the comments, I want you to tell me the same thing.
If I had a couple more hours of my day, what would I spend?
Just a couple more free hours. Just instead of 24, you're going to get 26.
Ooh, wow.
What would you do?
I'm the kind of guy that as much as I try to get out of my own way, I end up I always say I'm going to allocate time to sleeping more or doing more of something else. And then I just end up putting more time into whatever project I'm working on. So I feel like I almost have to have if I had 2 extra hours, then I need to be locked in a room with my mom and she needs to be telling me that I'm not allowed to do anything. I think that one thing I really want to work on is being more present, more present. I've been studying, I'm very spiritual, born again Christian, what have you. But I have also been studying Stoicism and just kind of getting this idea, not from a religious standpoint, but from a peace standpoint, letting go of things, being more present, being more in the moment, and I think that especially for what we do is incredibly important. So I'd say if I had 2 extra hours in my day, I would focus on doing nothing with them and being present, gratitude, and trying to focus on everything I have instead of focusing on everything I want. So
wow. That's pretty deep there, my man.
Let's do that.
You took that question, you just took it to another level. I'm curious what the audience, see, now they're actually resonating with what you're saying here. We
got Nutty Professor up there. I love it.
Okay, so we got several comments that came in while we were talking. Several, okay, and one of them yes, so one of them's pretty long. So let me see if I can attack this here. These are good. These are really good. Dr. Olson's giving us some more feedback, and we got something with from Kimberly. Okay. So we're going to read that. But let me get back to Olson. We're going to get to you, Kimberly. So she says, with the frogs, determining priorities and how to delegate was her thing. She also said, what do you as the manager need to address? What can you delegate and what can be deferred?
So I'm going to be very, very blunt with this one.
Okay.
Just because I really want to see you do well. I would really consider maybe using something other than frogs, just because it's not, even as you've explained it, sometimes and this happens to me, it's happening with my video right now. I get very married to an idea, but the idea works really well in my head, but I know it doesn't work great with my audience, right? So sometimes we just have to ask ourselves, am I doing this because I think my audience is going to get it and it's good for them? Or am I doing this because I kind of think this idea is cool,
I've done that many times.
We've all done it. We're all guilty of it. So no shame in that. But I would almost challenge, I'd almost challenge her to just consider what is something that's a little bit more, here's the thing. If you and I, Rollis, we have to unpack and try to understand what it's about. And you know her, and to some degree, I know her now. and we're still trying to understand and unpack, imagine doing a video on it, right? Like it needs to be something where people immediately understand because video moves fast. So if we're struggling to figure it out, then that tells you simplify.
Okay.
Make it a simpler idea, simpler concept. And it's okay to give up, these fun ideas that we have, because at the end we're serving our audience.
Got it.
We're not serving ourselves with it. So just something to consider.
That makes sense. And she's got, in a blog, she's got more time to set it up. But in a video,
Exactly.
you only
In
have
that
a couple of
context,
minutes.
It's perfect. Could not agree more. Great point, Rollis. Great point.
Okay, Dr. Olson. So hopefully that helps you for the blog. Roll with it. See what happens. But maybe for the video, if there's a way you could tweak it to make it where it kind of connects instantly, because I see where he's coming from. It took me a while to figure it out. That it resonates instantly with them, because you only have a few seconds before they keep scrolling on the feed.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back to Kimberly. Kimberly says she would love some thoughts on niching down on construction. She says, I work with entrepreneurs who have no sales background, help them to learn to unlock their sales mindset, gain confidence in their sales process, manage their emotions, and confidently ask for the sale. Recently, I have done some research and found out the top industries now for entrepreneurs are males 41 to 56, and construction is the leading the race. I currently work with 2 business owners in that space. Not sure I want to niche down that specific. Notice they are finding challenges with client expectations and proper discovery on the front end. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's like I'll talk to clients like that, and I get super excited for them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wish I did that, because I'd love to create content exactly in that space. Construction is interesting because the process of constructing things is it's so ingrained in us, like naturally. We like to build things, whether like as kids you build Legos or you build blocks or whatever. Construction itself is something that we all experienced at some point in our lives, and we continue, whether we're building our bodies or building our careers, whatever. We're always in the process of building something, right? So construction always has relevance in our everyday lives. So what I would do is I would try to use metaphors to connect these construction elements to ways that we construct our lives. Right. So, for example, if they have a project and they're building a bridge, right? Okay. Like, well, what are some examples in real life where a metaphor could be applied to a bridge? A bridge is, going through, this is kind of extreme. It's just the first one that came to my mind. Let's say that you're going through a divorce, right? That's something that's very painful, but it's something that a lot of people go through, bridging your old life to your new life, right? So, what is a metaphor that I could introduce? Maybe a new career. You're on one side of a bridge and you got to cross to the other, right? So, what are some metaphors you could use that you could introduce very early in your video or in your content that people can relate with? And then, very much like a funnel, you start honing in on, well, this is how what I do applies to this, right? This is a metaphor for this other thing that I do, right? And then you can kind of transition that audience from relatable, all of us go through this kind of thing, over to something very specific, right? And I feel like that's just the easiest opportunity that you have to get that audience over there.
I like that. Okay, you made me think of something else. So like a construction person, they have to have a foundation.
Yes.
They got to build the walls, right?
Rollis knows.
They got to have doors. They got to have, you want to have some insulation. I mean, there's so many things she could use as elements, like what you're saying,
right,
to make a point. And maybe it could be a series of videos that has, and each one involves a construction element and how it relates to sales or her coaching or whatever she's doing. I love it. This is great. So, so Kimberly, tell us what you think. Okay, now Joanne says she'd take her extra 2 hours and have coffee with friends or spend time with her nephews.
Hey, listen, that's beautiful.
Awesome.
That's beautiful.
And then also Dr. Olson says, good advice. Thanks for being blunt. So she appreciated it.
Of course.
I tell you, I love Dr. Olson. She's amazing. She's been on one or two of my shows. Really amazing person. So I'm hoping the best for her results there on that. Okay. Good. So I have a fun question for you.
I'm here for it.
Will you want to do an open-ended question or a never have I ever or a would you rather?
Why don't we do an open-ended one?
Okay.
That's intriguing me right now.
Okay. So What would you prepare as your favorite meal for family or friends that are coming over? So let's say you got some friends coming over. What's your go-to meal that you're going to fix for them?
That is an excellent question. Okay, so like there's this test called the Enneagram. Have you taken a Rollis?
Yes, I'm a 7.
You did take it?
I'm a 7, yes. Uh-huh.
You're a 7. Ooh,
Yeah.
You're like Shay. You're a 7. Okay. All right. No wonder we're such good friends. It all makes sense. So basically, what's great about 3s and 7s, I'm a 3. So this is why Rollis and I get along so well. Now I get it.
Okay,
So
explain the audience explain the audience what the 3 and the 7 is,
okay.
please.
So Enneagram is a test. It's not like people talk about like astrology and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's very much like the INDJ, like that kind of test. Like I'm not like is the ready. I'm not recalling what exactly that test is.
Like a Myers-Briggs
like
kind of thing.
Career placement types of things, and it identifies kind of like what type of employee you'd be, or what motivates you, right? So Enneagram, and you can check Enneagram Institute. You can take the test for yourself, and it's super interesting. So you can be 1 through 9. You have the investigator, you have the achiever, you have like the party animal, you have like Rollis. What's the proper term for yours?
If it's been a while since I took it, but I would say it was more like a collaborator and someone who's like relationship driven, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
So what's interesting about Rollis and I is that Rollis is a 7 and I'm a 3. So basically Rollis is kind of like the fire, but I'm the gasoline. So like anytime you get us two together, it's like I'm going to light. He's already brings the fire, but I'm bringing the gasoline. So if we have an idea, it's going to light on fire and it's going to burn everything down, But so we have to be mindful of I have to be mindful about how I encourage him to do things, because we might take it too far and then maybe his whole staff is going to hate him because of these ideas I come up with, because I'll push for it. And Rollis brings the fire. Rollis is a passionate guy. He really cares about what he does. So yeah, we're a dangerous combo. I had no idea, but it makes sense now.
So I just pulled it up. It says my key personality traits: I'm always on the go, wide range of interests, childlike enthusiasm and energy, many ongoing professional and creative projects. This describes me to a T.
This is on point. This isn't no astrology, guys. This is like it's like a 200 questionnaire type of deal. It knows Rollis to a T. So yeah.
Yeah. So Kimberly, by the way, she says she thinks that's great. I'm a sales mindset coach, so we do talk about blueprints. That's great. Okay, that's a construction term.
But back to the question. What was the original question where I got carried away and I kind of like lost my train of thought with the Enneagram?
Help me out, Joanne.
It was the open-ended question, right?
Oh, that's what it was. Yes. Okay, you're preparing for your favorite meal for your friends coming over. Guys, in the comments, tell me the same thing. What would you fix for them?
So the reason why I brought up the Enneagram is because I'm a type 3, and type 3 is the achiever, but they're also kind of like the performer, right? They're always putting on a show. They're always trying to be the absolute best. Like everything has to be the absolute best, and they always have an audience, right? Fitting, right? Point being is that the idea of preparing food for a group of people might be the scariest thing I could ever do. Because I'd be paralyzed in fear of disappointing someone. Just the idea that, okay, well, my brother's vegan. My parents are, pretty strict, like religiously, they have a very strict diet. My grandmother, she's too old. I don't even know what she could eat at this point. Like, yeah, I would be so paralyzed just considering what I could prepare for all of them. I'd probably just pass out and I'd buy a bottle of Jack Daniels and call it a night.
that is interesting because
I don't think I could do it. That is a scary thought, Rollis. Great
really?
Question. You have released my fears.
Wow.
To your audience.
I think that's where like my wife and I we differ, because when she has someone over, she wants to put on a red carpet. I mean, have a wonderful dinner, and everything needs to be just right. And I appreciate that about her.
That's beautiful.
Whereas I could have some folks over. Let's come on over. We'll figure out what we're going to eat when you get here. We'll order some pizza or something like that, and let's just have some fun.
Very low key.
Yeah. So mixing us two together is it's a challenge on that, but it definitely creates a better experience for them if she's involved, for sure.
I'm sure, Rollis.
Which is like you. Okay, Kimberly says, Okay. Did I finish just about? Love the metaphor of the bridge, and we're always building. Oh, and we are always building with a great insight. Okay, thank you both. So she apparently that helps her. What we said about that.
Good.
And Joanne also included a link to that personality test you were talking about earlier.
Oh, amazing! Thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you for doing that, Joanne. Appreciate that. I cannot believe the hour is almost done. This is unbelievable. Okay, I want to get something in before we leave this. I'm going to have you finish up with your top tip on what you want to leave our folks with, who are looking to focus their video content on a specific audience.
Yes,
but I want to ask
my top tip right now for I guess it's July
okay,
2021 is hang in there, because right now things don't seem all that great on LinkedIn, but been here long enough. I've been around social media long enough where I know these things. It's like, it's an intuition. Just hang in there. Keep doing what you're doing. Get really good at it now. Really like refine, get tuned into it, because despite the fact that it doesn't seem like videos are doing great, it doesn't seem like posts are doing that great because the world's opening back up and people are starting to go outside. This is the time to really get serious about it, because this is the time where people are not paying attention to it. It's like the California gold rush, right? Like everybody was, running over to California, and well, it was before, right? So before anybody started running over to California, it's like there were people that were there. They knew it was happening. They were early in the process, and they won because of it. And I just feel like the people that are really going to make a difference are the people that saw it early on. They stuck around. They kept getting good at it. And then, they started buying all the shovels so that when everybody else came, they gave everybody shovels, So I'd say, yes, keep doing it. Commit yourself to it. You're still early in the game. It is not topped off yet. These platforms are still growing. LinkedIn is now in the top 5. And less than 1% of people on LinkedIn are creating content. It is still absolutely insane. So I just encourage people to just hang in there right now. I know it's not at its best, but you develop your skills when you don't have an audience, so that when you do have an audience, you know exactly what to do.
Absolutely. We didn't give any attention to the folks in the cheap seats, but they definitely love it as well. I'm noticing it right now, looking at them in those parts
of the. You're meaningful to us as well.
Exactly. You know what?
You might not be able to hear us, but we're here.
We're glad all of you are here. By the way, Dr. Olson says, I'm with you, Rollis. It's about the relationships, so it doesn't matter what you serve. She's like me with that.
Respect.
That would drive you crazy, huh, John?
Respect. Hey, listen, but here's the thing. There's no wrong answers, right? Like we all have our different approaches. And if there's anything that I've realized is like listening to Gary Vaynerchuk wasn't for me, but I found my own way. So there's no right or wrong answers.
That's a great point. Well, listen, you're always great. You're always great. Today, I felt like we went to the next level because we really dove into helping folks, fix whatever their focus was on the show that we're here. So I want to thank you for taking that journey with me today, John.
Yes, Rollis. Like, do we have anything else coming up? I feel like we have another one coming up.
You're going to be guest hosting the show in 2 weeks.
Yes.
You're guest hosting Rachel. That's going to be an amazing show.
I think so. Rollis, what if it does incredible? Are you gonna?
You'll probably be guest hosting a lot more.
I'm just kidding. Rollis is irreplaceable. You can't replace Rollis, but I really am looking forward to it. You've really built something special with this, and it's gonna feel good sitting in the throne for a day. So
Well, I appreciate you, my man. You're doing great stuff. Thank you for everything you do. Guys in the comments, thanks for joining us. We're gonna say bye for now. Appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of the day.
Take care, guys.
Okay, I'll hit the button here in just a second here. I think we're just about safe. Joanne, if you'll let me know for sure, I think we're safe to hit the end stream button. I think we're probably about safe. I'm going to go ahead and